Hello, I'm Ron Cavill. Some months back when we started to talk about going deeper, I looked at the different options, and the first one that really jumped out to me was going deeper in the Bible. When I was young and first came to the Lord, the Bible was such a beautiful and kind of an awakening, and there was that hunger there to learn and to read. I remember early up, I just had this pursuit to chapter and verse, memorize scripture, learn scripture, store them up, and boy, it was like every week there would be something new that I was learning, and that has served me well over the years. However, as I sat in the pew that day when we talked about going deeper, I thought, I love the Bible, I love the wisdom, I love the counsel, the guidance that it provides for us, but clearly we can go deeper. And I was challenged by that. So I went home and I thought, I immediately instinctively said, I want to go deeper in the Bible. Well, then after I made the commitment, then I went home and I started thinking about what does that mean? I thought about Jesus' ministry. When he came, in that brief period of time that he had with us, what did he do? He told stories. And I thought about that, and I thought, the beauty of telling stories, storytelling, it's sort of a lost art. My grandfather was a great storyteller. He came from an era that there was no TV, in fact, even very little radio. So they developed that technique for telling stories. And we all as human beings, we all love to hear a good story. And as I thought about that more and more, I thought, that's what I need. I don't need chapter and verse at this point in my life. What I need is application and provision, if you will. That, what is the story of the Bible for my life? How does my life story coincide with the story of the Bible? So, as I thought about it, two things emerged in my thinking. One is I turned back to an old friend. Many of us in the congregation have been familiar with this device, this tool over the years. It's called Our Daily Bread. I hadn't read it for a long time. It's one of those things, you do it for a couple of years, you read it, you get a subscription, and then you move on, you go to something different. Susan, actually, my wife, had been reading Our Daily Bread. And I'd look over her shoulder once in a while in the morning, what have you. And finally I said, I got to get one of those for myself. So I did. Because it was the story that was there. It was the story that motivated me. So I turned to something old, and then I turned to something new. Another friend of mine up in Denver, one day, lo and behold, out of the clear blue sky, I get this present from him. And it was a nice little bound edition of Jesus Calling. Again, a story. And I thought, I'm seeing a pattern taking place here. So that's what I've been doing the last few years, because both in Our Daily Bread and in Jesus Calling, there's always the story, but there's the parallel in the scripture reference in there. And the stories, again, have made it come alive to me, because for every story that I would read, I would sit back and I would say, okay, there's a story. How about my story? Where's my story in this? How does this fit with my story? How does this parallel the story of my life? What is Jesus saying to me, Ron Cavill, that he wants me to hear? And it's given me a new fresh, after a lot of years, a new fresh understanding and excitement for studying the Bible. So it's not a formal program. I've done a lot of those in the past. It's really something that's very, every morning there's the daily bread waiting for me, and there's Jesus Calling waiting for me. And it's really caused actually a new excitement in my life. I have felt, I felt like it's fresh and new again. And, this is working for the time being. Maybe next year after, something different will come along. But again, that's the beauty of the living Word. The scriptures are alive, they're real. It's not just memorizing something, it's not just being able to recite that chapter and verse, but it's about being able to appropriate it into our own lives and to build our lives around it, so that when you get up in the morning and you start with that, and you've got this story that's working in your spirit and working in your heart, it unravels with you as you go through the day. You know, it's like pulling a little bit off of the wrapper every day as you go through the day. That, you know, a little bit of something that you remember from the story. Ah, there's a truth. Ah, there's something that I can apply. Oh yes, here's what I see what this means. It's like a companion going through the day with you, and that, to that extent, it's been a new and exciting journey for us.